Okay, so here's an update on the Q2 shell. I started building it today. Alright, so I'll take you through this. As you saw before in a previous video, I had a temporary frame holding the chassis to be able to test it. Well, I took that out. What I've used is the back half of the bottom is from a Riverossi mallet 2882. The front half, I'm talking about the plastic now. The front half is from maybe a Berkshire, I'm not sure. The back, I have no idea what that is. I cut it down the middle and opened it up a little bit because it needed to be wider. Not much, just a little bit. So what I've done is take the aluminum out of here. So basically the chassis is like a pretty much like a mallet, except it's only rear wheel drive. The last 4 wheels are driven. That's the motor. I got some tape holding the wire in place for now. There's a piece of metal right there that's bonded to the plastic. There's a spring underneath there. Normally that little transmission gearbox, worm gear, whatever it is, worm in gear, for argument's sake, we'll call it the transmission. And then it goes down into, and we'll call that the transfer case that turns these wheels. So this piece here is homemade. You can see it. I actually have a Berkshire drive shaft in there. I took the rubber one out that I had. So this is all plastic, and then I strengthened it up with crazy glue and baking soda, and then grinded it back out. This is screwed in. It's slightly shimmed at an angle. If I went down tight for some reason, it bogged down the motor. So it's slightly cocked. It works fine. And then the front is a piece of plastic mounted in there. That's all super glue and baking soda, basically making an epoxy. All that's going to be painted. Now, there's a stud coming off this truck, which I explained before was the tip of a spark plug. And there's a spring on there, just to stop it from wobbling. Had a lot of wobble last night, so I tightened the chassis up so it doesn't wobble nearly as much. I actually put a spring in the rear where it didn't have one before. Now this is a piece of 1 1/4 inch bathroom sink drain pipe. This is made from a sheet of Sintra, which is basically plastic soft like PVC. What I did was I cut this section. Before I cut it off the sheet, I heated it up and slightly bent it. And then I extended the sides, made them really long or really tall. Then I made the shell, and as you can see, there's a cut here where my thumb is. That's to taper it in. A cut there to taper the shell. Then it's the original, and then it tapers in again slightly. So if you look at it you can see it's not completely symmetrical, nor should it be. Now inside there, you'll see the plastic, the blue plastic. That protruded through, and then I grinded the rest of it off after it was all glued and cured, so there'd be room for everything that's going to go inside this train. The front piece is made out of Lexan. Obviously it's not done, there's a ton of more work. The back cab, I don't know where this came from. I have no idea. I don't even know. It was a Rivarossi. I think it came from a mallet shell that was hacked up, and I bought a new one for one of my mallets, and I replaced the bottom and the top because the bottom was hacked up. Somebody idiot painted it, as you can tell. It has been painted. It was horrible. So I believe that that's what that is. And then the front is a section of Berkshire. Or, no, actually, you know what? It might be a 464. I don't know. But a lot of this detail here needs to be changed. I think this needs to be cut off. The back piston can stay. The front, I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot more work to be done. It does run as is, the way it is once I put some weight on it. But anyway, we're not going to run it. You'll see a piece of Lexan there bent down here where my finger is. That actually allows this to be like a spring. So it keeps tension on the truck. I've used that method before. It works very well. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if I'm going to add the valve gear. I do have the valve gear for this, and I have the rods that have the valve gear. But where this is free spinning, and if I have the valve gear on there, it might bind up. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. It's work in progress. It's more important for me to get the shell done. I'd like to get it done before the weekend and get some paint on it, see what it looks like, and then start doing the body work. As you can see, that still says Rivarossi. I purposely did not cover that up. Seeing that it's a Rivarossi chassis, or two of them. So we'll recap. This is a Berkshire. I lopped off the front, move this forward, or move this back. This section here, this piece of frame is from a big boy. Is the front truck from a big boy. These pistons, or cylinders, or wherever they are, they're from a big boy. I didn't put a gear in it. I really wouldn't have had the room for a motor, I don't think. It would have been too much work because of the way the transmission is, where the gearbox for a 464 is much easier to deal with. This is off center, it's not middle, it's a nightmare to deal with. But it was the only train that, other than the big boy, that had the same size wheels as the Q2. And big boy still would have had the same problem, still got that ridiculous gearbox. So anyway, that's the update. This is what it looks like when it's together, well, somewhat. There will be a tab in the back for a screw, one in the front. Normally when I build a shell, I build them like almost like a Bachmann, where the shell is completely intact and the drivetrain bolts into it. This here, I built it because I used the bottom of two bottoms of Rivarossi trains. I figured I would build it exactly like a Rivarossi, where the shell comes off. So there you have it. So the front end is up a little high. It won't be once there's weight in it. When the weight goes in there, it levels it off. Still got a lot more work to do on this thing, but she's getting there. Thanks for watching. I'll keep you updated.